I was originally an obscure teacher, but I woke up and found myself transmigrated into a novel. The worst part is, I became a character who gets killed by the male lead in the second part. My mind is in chaos right now. Although I didn't like being a teacher, I have no idea how to handle this role. Before transmigrating, I was someone with absolutely no say at home. My studies and my life were controlled by my parents, including what I studied and what job I would do when I grew up. I had to obey my parents' arrangements. They hijacked my life in the name of love and doing what was best for me. But fortunately, in my spare time, I had some small hobbies that weren't stripped away. I really liked reading a novel called The Crown of Blood. There was a character in it named Lois, whom I liked very much. Beautiful, decisive, and intelligent. But she wasn't the novel's heroine. There were two female leads set up in the story. One was Lois, the other was the saintess, Loin. Together, they supported the male lead, Cain, in ascending to the throne. And Loin was Cain's confidant and assistant. So, many people argued endlessly about which of the two was the female lead. But in the middle chapter of the second part, Loin was brutally murdered. Cain found out the mastermind was Lois. Lois offered no defense and instead launched a rebellion, until Cain resurrected Loin. Lois suffered torture and finally died under Cain's sword. Whether in the novel or in life, it was all tragic to me. My favorite character died too, so I wanted to wait and see what twist the third part would bring. As a result, while I was obsessed with the novel, I got hit by a car. When I woke up, I was in this godforsaken place. While I was wondering what to do, my cute maid, Anna, saw that I looked off and came to ask if I needed anything. My brain is a mess right now. I could only use feeling unwell as an excuse to let her withdraw first. I'm really breaking down. If you're going to transmigrate me, give me a better role. Why did it have to be Lois? She's going to die in the second part. This situation makes it hard for me to take a single step. How did I end up transmigrating into a novel as a miserable woman about to die? While I was still thinking about how I was going to survive in this world, I suddenly felt a killing intent. It was coming from the rear right. It probably wasn't anyone good. While I was still a loss, my body instinctively counter-killed the man in black. My body was surprisingly agile, and in that moment, I wasn't scared at all. Instead, I felt very calm. Maybe the original owner was already a formidable person, so this was her instinctive reaction. But this was my first time doing something like this. Afterward, seeing the man in black lying in a pool of blood, I was still both nervous and afraid. But just then, a knock came from the door. I knew I couldn't show any nervousness or fear for others to see. I immediately managed my expression and let the person outside come in. The door pushed open to reveal a man with a scarred face. It should be my subordinate, Adjutant Jaden. He saw that I had encountered an assassination attempt and was very calm. This implies the original owner likely encountered this often. I asked him to help clean up the mess here. He agreed readily and remarked that the blood flowed heavily this time, but it should be cleaned up quickly. Seeing his calm and composed expression, I thought to myself, someone just died, yet he's so calm. This makes me feel that surviving here will be even more difficult. I could encounter assassination at any moment. I have no way out. Can I really survive here? Although I felt very worried before. Incredibly, I have now spent a very comfortable year here. And I feel that compared to being that puppet manipulated by others before, I prefer the present. A carefree, yet dangerous life. Because my status is extremely high, no one can interfere with me. So I do as I please here, and everything operates according to my decisions. It makes me no longer miss my old self. But during this year, I've also figured out a lot of things. The current me has actually transmigrated to a time before the novel started. The novel The Crown of Blood is divided into 3 parts. The first part is where the emperor is assassinated, and the 15-year-old crown prince Cain flees the palace to escape the pursuit of monsters. He returns to the palace 5 years later, begins his revenge plan, and reclaims the throne, which ends part 1. The second part involves me, the Northern Grand Duke Lois, and Cain's confidant, the Saintess Loin, helping him ascend the throne when Cain is 20. But afterward, Loin dies. Cain believes Lois is the murderer, but the stubborn Lois disdains to defend herself. Finally, she dies tragically under Cain's sword. Then comes the third part, which had just started serialization on the day of my car accident. I hadn't seen anything yet. I got hit by a car and transmigrated. I have no idea about the subsequent story. Now, the first part of the novel is about to begin. The Crown Prince is about to go missing. The only thing I can do now is guard my north well and avoid contact with the palace. It would be best to live out this life peacefully. Just as I thought this, Jaden came in. He was holding a little rabbit he got from who knows where. He looked shy as he asked me if the little rabbit was cute. Jaden is very affectionate and gentle towards such small things. This is completely different from when he's slaughtering monsters on the battlefield. It's a stark contrast. There's a kind of Gapmo cuteness to it. While the two of us were discussing what name to give this little rabbit, John came in. He is the commander of the knights. He told me very seriously that a letter had arrived from the palace. My heart skipped a beat. Has the story started? The letter stated that the emperor has passed away, the only crown prince is missing, and they need my help. For this past year, in order not to get involved with them, I almost never went to the palace. I didn't even go near the palace, because in the second part, I will be killed by this currently seemingly weak crown prince. Thinking of this makes my scalp tingle. But I'm also curious. Where could a 15-year-old brat run off to on his own? Just then, the little rabbit in Jaden's hand ran away. I watched the rabbit run off. I thought to myself, if a rabbit this weak can escape from Jaden's hands, the crown prince is the male lead. He has the protagonist halo. He definitely won't die. I'd better not get involved. I looked at John and asked him who the messenger was. John told me the messenger was someone who escaped from the palace, but was injured by a monster and likely wouldn't survive the night. I thought about it. If he won't survive the night, then no one will know this letter reached my hands. I immediately ordered John to burn the letter. Pretend we received nothing today. Pretend we know nothing. And I told John to close the gates of the north. From now on, without my order, no one is allowed to enter. Since I've transmigrated here and become Lois, and I'm not that puppet from before, I don't have to listen to anyone's decisions. I will live only according to my own will. I don't know why I woke up and transmigrated into the biggest sucker in the novel. Because I'll be stabbed to death by the male lead in the second part of the novel, I decided to ignore everything outside my window and live each day peacefully. It's been a week since I last closed the northern gates. In this remote northern region, there are still many monsters running rampant. So, eliminating monsters has become my daily warm-up exercise. But I find it quite interesting. Watching Jaden finish off the last monster, those cold, fierce eyes, combined with his ruthless methods, contrasted with his gentle personality and love for small, soft animals. It creates a polarized difference. Although I've known this for a year, I'm still a bit unaccustomed to this contrast. He looks so fierce, and his body is so muscular. Many people probably misunderstand him as having a brutal nature. I couldn't help but cast a sympathetic look at him. But in John's eyes, I looked like I was looking at an idiot when I looked at Jaden. And he told Jaden that. Jaden wanted to verify this in disbelief, but I prepared to head back without caring, leaving him chasing after me with questions. After all, the monsters here have been mostly eliminated. At this moment, John caught up and reported that the recent monster movements were very abnormal, and more monsters were crossing the border. Something big might be happening. He asked if I needed a scout team to investigate. While I was still thinking, I suddenly felt a chill down my spine. A creepy aura spread out nearby. Although nothing could be seen on the surface for now, this was my intuition. My intuition as Lois. Some uninvited guest must have arrived in the north. But I don't have time to consider all that now. I have a pile of official duties every day. I can't help but want to curse. Lois is simply a superwoman. She has tied her life to the survival of the country. Her notebook even has words like if you don't do the job well, you die written in it. It's simply too terrifying. However, exterminating monsters is the top priority right now. Actually, in the original novel, there's a way to completely eliminate the monsters. But that method can only be found after the male lead ascends the throne. I have to wait another 5 years. Just thinking about it makes me tired. But I'm already yearning for a beautiful life and a beautiful future. I'll live here without a care for the rest of my life. But before that, I have to solve these issues first. With the increase in monsters recently, there must be a problem at the border. While I was racking my brain, my cute maid Anna brought a pile of letters to my room. These letters all said the crown prince is missing and they need me to go back and assist. But I'm not that stupid. I'm not going back. Going back is just a dead end. I told Anna to give a perfunctory reply. Just say the North is currently under attack by monsters, and the Grand Duke is stuck in a bitter battle and cannot get away. Besides, this crown prince isn't missing. He's hiding on his own. Although he's a brat, he's 15, so his skills should be decent, right? Plus, he has the protagonist halo. He definitely won't kick the bucket. Thinking of this, I told Anna to withdraw if there was nothing else. Before I could finish speaking, a sharp pain came from my fingertip. Damn, something is wrong with the barrier stone. The barrier stone is a stone that isolates the forest from other places. It is also a magical device that prevents monsters from invading. The material required to make the barrier stone is human blood. It just so happens that Lois's blood was used. So the barrier stone is closely linked to me. The stinging in my fingertip means this damn stone has a problem. So I prepared to go check the situation immediately. Arriving at the forest, I felt a special aura. I saw broken pieces of the barrier stone on the ground, and the cross-section was very smooth. That means someone used a sword to slash the barrier stone to get in. Sure enough, my prediction during the day was correct. An uninvited guest has arrived. I asked Anna to call the knights over to investigate. In the meantime, I want to see if there were any anomalies myself. As I walked into the forest, I was suddenly blinded by something flashing. I walked towards the glimmer and found a child lying on the ground. Why would a child be in the forest? Seeing the purple glow on his sword, I understood that he was the one who destroyed the barrier stone. Since it was too dark at night, I prepared to get closer to check the child's condition. He looked very young, like he was only 15. 15 years old. My heart skipped a beat. It couldn't be that crown prince who was going to imprison me in a dungeon and torture me to death, right? Suddenly, the child woke up and looked up at me. Isn't this brat crown Prince Cain? I couldn't help but curse. My beautiful life and my perfect plan for the future are completely shattered. As a seasoned web novel fan, I actually failed to predict this plot twist. Why, with such a big world, did this brat choose? Why did he have to choose my remote and poor north? And damn it, he has to hide for 5 years. Someone save me. An unlucky fool accidentally transmigrated from modern life into a novel a year ago. I thought I would live peacefully according to the original plan. Who knew the story was just beginning? When I went to check the barrier stone, I saw this child in the forest. It was Crown Prince Cain. I really want to choose to explode on the spot. I don't understand at all. Why would such a noble crown prince choose to flee to this remote and poor north? And in the original novel, there was no plot about him coming to the north at all. Is it because of a feng shui problem? Doesn't this mess up all my plans? But it's not up to me to consider so much. He's awake now. He is the crown prince. So I still had to kneel down and bow to him first. Suddenly, he grabbed my hand. I discovered his hand temperature was very high. I realized he must have a fever. I looked at his feverish face. His body must be very weak. Then he walked over unsteadily and called my name. He also mumbled something like "found you." Saying that, he collapsed onto me. I also noticed he had wounds on his body. At this moment, Anna also came over. Now I only have 2 choices. There is no other way out. First is to leave the crown prince here. Anna and I go back by ourselves. Second is to take the crown prince back to heal his wounds. I really want to throw him here. But the knights will arrive soon, and he'll definitely be discovered. His golden hair is the symbol of the royal family. Once seen, he'll be recognized immediately. That way, the news of the crown prince being in the north will definitely reach the palace. Then my north will still get involved with the royal family. Why is such a bullshit plot happening to me? Can't things just go my way? I had no choice. Ishuz, to settle the crown prince in my chambers first. And I instructed Anna not to tell anyone about this. Looking at this big trouble on the bed, I couldn't help but sigh, as expected of the male lead. He looks so good even with a fever. In all my life, this is the first time I've seen such a good-looking boy. Wait, this isn't the time for me to be fangirling. I am incredibly frantic right now. Bringing him back is playing with fire. Who can help me in this situation? I suddenly thought of him. Loin, right? Loin should be able to. He is Lois's only brother. If there's a problem, I can ask him solve it. But according to the original plot, he is the knight guarding the Saintess. He should be in the palace right now. So he has no reason to return to the north. If he comes back now, he'll definitely be dismissed. He might even get into trouble. What on earth should I do? While I was still thinking about these complicated matters, Cain had already woken up. I immediately knelt on one knee and greeted him cordially. But he looked at me with a puzzled face and asked who I was, and asked where he was. I was greatly shocked. Didn't he just call out my name in the forest? Why doesn't he remember now? I confirmed this repeatedly, and after asking him what the last thing he saw before fainting was, I despaired. Cain told me clearly that he remembers nothing about his identity. The last thing he saw was a strange blue stone. Because it blocked his path, he slashed it with his sword. I was still in disbelief. I asked him if he remembered anything about the palace or his childhood. He still repeated that he remembered nothing. He even asked what a palace was. Is his brain fried, or does he have amnesia? He doesn't even remember the palace. I don't know why such a dog blood drama plot is happening to me. This is really too melodramatic. Do scripts still get written like this nowadays? Even the audience wouldn't watch it. Seeing my frantic and irritable expression, Kane didn't know why I was like this. But seeing the wounds I bandaged for him, he instead smiled and expressed his gratitude to me. I looked at him in disbelief. In the original work, he was a very arrogant, cold, and conceited boy. This face now really makes me a bit unaccustomed. He suddenly spoke up, saying he needed a bath. I still reflexively stood up and answered that I would arrange it immediately. I thought to myself, maybe after a bath, he'll remember everything. But as the male lead, why does this lame amnesia trope still exist? I still can't believe it. While I was still immersed in my own sorrow, he suddenly looked at me with a strange look and asked me what my name was. I answered him. He gave a playful smile and repeated my name. I was stunned. Is he really amnesiac or faking it? Is it just to test me? Why does he still speak so condescendingly? 8 million thoughts flashed through my mind. But then, one sentence he said left me dumbfounded. I will listen to you obediently, Lois. When he said this, he even had a well-behaved, cute look on his face. I was startled by his sudden change. What exactly is going on? Is it a test or real amnesia? Although no matter what it is, it can't change the plot that he has to stay in the North for 5 years. Is it really going to be like this? A miserable woman who transmigrated into a novel inexplicably and met the evil man who is about to kill me on this day. But right now, he is still a 15-year-old brat. After bringing the Crown Prince back to my chambers, I fell into a deep breakdown. I was originally just an obscure teacher. Now I've transmigrated to this place. Not only do I need to fight on the battlefield, but I also need to hold my own. That would be fine, but what's more terrifying now is that the Crown Prince who is going to kill me has fled to the north. And he has amnesia. If the plot follows the script, barring any accidents, this guy will stay with me for at least 5 years. 5 years later is my death date. I need to properly sort out the original plot of the novel. He didn't come to the north in the story. That means my actions influenced the development of the original plot. And I might as well go for broke, since he has amnesia now anyway. Why don't I improve my relationship with him? Maybe I can avoid the ending where I die. Although I don't know how he lost his memory, he could still call my name before he fainted. It means he knows me. With his harmless appearance now, getting close to him should be relatively simple. Given that I didn't reply to so many letters from the palace before, everyone must think I am a wicked person. They definitely wouldn't think I'd help the Crown Prince either. Then I'll pull a reverse card. Now, I'll keep him in the north and take good care of him. When the time is right, I'll support him to take the throne. No matter what, he should be grateful, right? Exactly. Since I can't change the current situation, I'll change the future. While I was planning my nurturing project, Kane came out from his bath. I hurriedly asked him if he remembered anything now. He was still the same, telling me he didn't remember anything. But I always feel like he's pretending. So I forget it. Who cares if he's pretending or not? I'll find out eventually. Thinking of this, I decided to tell him about his identity. I told him he is the Crown Prince of the palace. His full name is Kane Chris. After understanding this, he also directly told me to call him Kane. I looked at him and thought, I can call you whatever. I just know that from now on, my luck is in the hands of this brat. I must cultivate him into the most excellent emperor, and then let him be with his female lead. Have a happy ending. In that case, I can avoid the disaster of being killed. Maybe I can even get him to eliminate all the monsters in my north at once. Then I can enjoy family happiness. Kane saw me staring at his face in a daze and hurriedly asked if there was something on his face. I stood up and answered solemnly that there wasn't, and I told him to firmly remember his own great name and the fact that he is the Crown Prince. I want to cultivate him into the most excellent emperor. Then I made him take the medicine for his wounds and left. After a while, I lay by the door crack to peek at him, to see if there was any situation. I found that he had already fallen asleep. The ones peeking weren't just me, but also Jaden. Although I found it a bit hard to believe he fell asleep so quickly. But thinking about how he's been hiding here and there recently and has wounds on his body, maybe he was too tired and took medicine, so he slept this fast. However, there's a very big problem in front of us right now, because Kane has golden hair. This is the symbol of the royal family. If he goes out or goes anywhere, as long as he is seen, everyone will discover he is the Crown Prince. I turned to look at Jaden and asked him if he had any good ideas. Jaden said, there is a herb in the north that can change hair and eye color. Right? How did I not think of that? Because this herb is easily used by bad people, very few people know how to make it. But fortunately, my family knows how to make this herb. Because as a ducal family, black hair and red eyes are our family's characteristics. Mastering the production of this herb is mainly to avoid enemy invasions, putting the ducal line in crisis. So we would make servants eat this kind of herb to deceive the enemy country and die in place of the master. Although I am proficient in making this kind of herb, I don't know if this medicine works on royal blood. But no matter what, we could try it first. Jaden looked at my contemplative appearance. Not understanding my thoughts, he offered to share my worries. Before I could speak, we discovered that Cain, who was lying on the bed, had woken up. The two of us were dumbfounded. We didn't even notice when he woke up. Jaden could only make up an excuse, saying we came to patrol the safety of the surroundings. Having stayed in the north for so long, it was also Jaden's first time seeing the Crown Prince's true face. But he also heard that the Crown Prince is a young man with no compassion and is indifferent. But at this moment, the Crown Prince was smiling brilliantly at me. He felt very shocked, because the Crown Prince absolutely does not love to smile. Moreover, a person who lost their memory should follow their nature even more. If he really has amnesia, then his temperament should be even worse than before he lost his memory. So is it real amnesia or fake? Jaden stared at Cain in a daze. Cain seemed to have discovered something too. He also looked at Jaden, and his expression was cold and terrifying. Jaden was startled. This is obviously discriminatory treatment. He only smiles at me. He's cold to everyone else. This makes my scalp tingle even more. Suddenly, Cain grabbed my sleeve. He said pitifully that he had a nightmare. He dreamed that someone was chasing him to kill him. The person in the dream also had golden hair. Golden hair. Could it be Elixir? But that's unlikely. How could he? Would he chase us all the way here just to kill the Crown Prince with his own hands? That old fox is so cunning. How could he risk exposing himself personally? Before I could think more, Cain grabbed my hand and said he was too scared to sleep. I had no choice but to coax him to sleep. I stayed by his side. But unexpectedly, he actually requested that I sleep with him. Jaden and I were both absolutely stunned when we heard that. Having transmigrated into this novel, I thought I could live my whole life in the north without caring about anything. But I never expected to run into the Crown Prince, who was supposed to put me to death later, find him with amnesia, and then have him make the absurd request for me to sleep with him. When Jaden and I heard the Crown Prince's request, my face turned green. Especially Jaden. He's killed countless enemies, but this was the first time I saw his face go pale. But at this moment, the Crown Prince had a pitiful look on his face, saying the nightmares were too terrible for him to sleep. I still told him that there is a distinction between a monarch and a subject. The only one who can stay by your side is the Crown Princess. Such boundary-crossing actions cannot be done. Cain looked unwilling. Finally, he stole a glance at me and said, "Then can you stay with me until I fall asleep before you leave?" I wanted to refuse, but then I thought, aren't children more likely to open their hearts when they are weak and helpless? Maybe this is my good chance to improve my relationship with him. So I decided to stay by his bed until he fell asleep. Jaden was shocked by my decision, thinking I couldn't find a way out of it. He signaled that we still needed to discuss how to protect the Crown Prince as an excuse to help me leave. But unexpectedly, I directly said, "We will discuss that matter later." So Jaden had no choice but to leave. At that moment, I didn't notice the Crown Prince watching Jaden leave with a sharp gaze. After walking out of the bedchamber, Jaden felt the whole situation was very off. Every time the Crown Prince looked at Jaden, his eyes were incredibly cold. The same went for Anna. He never liked others touching him. He would fly into a rage. But towards me, he put on a completely obedient face. Jaden thinks the Crown Prince is faking it. Although he doesn't know the motive, a 15-year-old boy asking someone to sleep with him seemed ridiculous to the tough guy Jaden. Anna also thinks the Crown Prince's attitude is completely different depending on the person. Although she knows my dilemma, there's no other way, because she knows I intend to support Cain's ascent to the throne. At this moment, everyone coincidentally thought, if only Loin could come back, because as long as Loin is here, any problem can be solved. Meanwhile, I was still in the chamber accompanying Cain. Cain curiously asked about Jaden, saying he felt Jaden was very loyal to me. I said that is natural, as he is my adjutant. Suddenly Cain asked me, "Then who are you loyal to, Lois?" "Of course, it is you, your highness," I answered without hesitation. I can still speak flattering words. After all, I had to put him on the throne to avoid my own death. Hearing this, Cain immediately reached out his hand. Then I want to hold hand to sleep. I was speechless. It was bad enough asking to hold hands to sleep, but he even used baby talk. I had no choice but to hold the hand that might kill me in the future. I comforted him, saying, I will stay with you until you fall asleep. This really feels a bit like raising a son, even though I'm only 4 years older than him. Forget it. I'll just treat it as raising a son. I'll just be a mother. Taking advantage of the warm atmosphere, I checked on his wound and asked if it still hurt. But he expressed dissatisfaction with me, using honorifics, and asked me to call him by his name directly. I felt it was too cheesy and couldn't bring myself to smile. But on second thought, I'm hiding him right now. If I keep calling him Your Highness, it will definitely expose us. So I agreed. Cain gave me another sweet smile. I was stunned. I didn't expect the cold-blooded and ruthless him to have such a side. However, raising a child with this temperament shouldn't be too bad. I want to turn him into a warm man who, besides being devoted to the heroine, is also loyal and partial to me. I thought he would fall asleep quickly, but who knew I'd be coaxing him until midnight? Whose kid stays up this late? I complained as I walked in the hallway. Suddenly, I was pulled into a corner by a large hand. Oh, I had gradually gotten used to life here, but I didn't expect so many scares to come one after another now. I had just soothed the crown prince to sleep and was preparing to leave, when I was pulled into the corner by a large hand. Just as I was about to fight back, unexpectedly, it was my brother Loin, whom I hadn't seen in years. Seeing him, I was incredibly shocked. Shouldn't he be at the Imperial Palace guarding the Saintess at this time? Then, I questioned him about why he came back at this time. Had something happened? Although Loin is naturally cold and cruel, he is a total sister complex. Especially after our father went missing many years ago, Loin doted on his sister even more. However, because he had a special ability to control holy power, he had no choice but to go to the Imperial Palace to serve as a holy knight. With father missing and my brother gone, I took on the title of the Grand Duke of the North. But now that my brother has suddenly returned, something must have happened. But Loin just laughed it off, saying he only came back because he missed me too much. I didn't believe his nonsense, so I continued to press him. As a result, he tried to brush me off again with the excuse that there were too many monsters in the north, and he wanted to come back and check. I told him not to change the subject. He had no choice but to grin and tell me that he had been laid off. Laid off. At this time, as a knight guarding the Saintess, surely he couldn't have been dismissed from his post. Could it be that that part was cut off? How could that be? Was it because they were afraid he had inappropriate thoughts about the Saintess? So, they cut that off? I looked at him with horror and sympathy. Loin saw through my thoughts and looked speechless. He didn't know why my mind went in that direction. He really was just dismissed from his post. So he planned to return to his hometown to rest and assist me. I looked at him, thinking in my heart that one crown prince was enough to handle, and now another one has arrived. Just then, Jaden suddenly burst in, interrupting our conversation. He ran while shouting, "Bad news. Lord Loin has returned." Before he could finish, he saw Loin sitting on the sofa. Loin looked at him with amusement. "What's wrong? Is my return a bad news event?" "You say it's bad news?" Jaden lowered his head under the stare, not daring to speak. I stopped Loin with a look, telling him not to bully my adjutant anymore. I was the one who told him to report to me immediately if he found out you had entered the city. Loin looked jealous that I was speaking up for Jaden, but immediately turned to me with a smile and said, "What's the matter? Did you miss seeing your brother that much?" I didn't respond to that remark. It was too late, so I told him to rest well, and I'd find him tomorrow. The next day, Loin prepared a lot of delicious food, but I was in the mood. I got straight to the point. Guessing, the person who dismissed you was probably Duke Elixir. My sister is indeed very smart. It was precisely him. Because you're the Northern Grand Duke now, and I'm the commander of the Holy Knights. He was afraid I would use the Saintess to get involved in the Temple's forces and unite with you to ruin his plans. So he made the first move and dismissed me. Loin said these words lightly. This is good, I thought. Because of Loin's love for Lois, in the novel, he naturally died following Lois. This way, him being dismissed and coming back is not only safer, but he can also contribute to my raising plan. I said to Loin flatteringly, "Since brother chose to come back, I won't let you be in danger." Loin smiled and said I had finally grown up. I took the opportunity to tell him that I really needed his help right now. Loin smiled and indicated he could accept the position of adjutant now, since it's closer to me. So he was planning to replace Jaden? That is impossible, I told him. The Crown Prince needs a swordsmanship teacher right now. I need you to teach him. Loin joked, "What swordsmanship teacher? I just want to be your adjutant." Suddenly, he realized something was wrong with that sentence. Wait, what did you say? What did you just say? The Crown Prince? It was the first time seeing my brother Loin, and I didn't expect him to be driven back because he was fired. But that's fine. I didn't hesitate to prepare to drag him into the mess to help me complete my raising plan. The first step is to have Loin and Cain get to know each other. Loin is definitely familiar with the Crown Prince, but the Crown Prince is currently in a state of amnesia, so they need to get familiar. Loin looked at the Crown Prince and wondered, has he been in the north this whole time? Before Loin could think much, Cain asked him with unusually cold eyes, "Are you Lois's only blood relative?" "Yes, Your Highness," Loin answered respectfully. Then Cain told him to stand up. Seeing the Crown Prince's cold eyes, Loin was filled with doubt. This didn't look like amnesia. Suddenly, Cain put on a bright smile and said, "I'll be counting on you from now on." Loin was confused right then. Why was he glaring like a tiger just now, and suddenly so friendly to me? No, this smile doesn't seem to be for me. His smile was clearly directed at Lois. After their initial introduction, I prepared to plan the next steps with Loin. I told him that currently, including him, only 4 people knew the Crown Prince was in the north. The other 2 are Anna and Jaden. Even John doesn't know. I heard you plan to hide the Crown Prince in the north forever? Loin asked me unhappily. Yes, that's right, and he needs to stay for at least 5 years. Furthermore, I need to support the Crown Prince to ascend the throne. I told Loin very seriously. So I said the Crown Prince needs a swordsmanship teacher. I need you to help him become stronger. Loin thought I was joking and asked me repeatedly if I was serious. I said, of course I am serious, and I intend to overthrow Duke Elixir and support the Crown Prince to take the throne. At this moment, I didn't know that my words were overheard by the Crown Prince outside the door. Then I asked Loin, what do you think about the Crown Prince's amnesia? Loin felt that amnesia wasn't a common occurrence, and forgetting absolutely everything like this was indeed rare. If we take this opportunity to withdraw safely from this battle for the throne, that wouldn't be a bad idea. I understood Loin's thoughts. He was doing it for my own good, not wanting me to get dragged into this war. But we can't. If Elixir succeeds in usurping the throne and becomes emperor, then Cain will definitely die. Although if Cain dies, I won't have to worry about him killing me later. But as for how to completely eliminate the monsters, only he will know once he ascends the throne. And it must be him. I don't want to spend the rest of my life fighting and killing on the battlefield. I didn't tell Loin these things. I just told him that even if Elixir ascends the throne, the first one he'll eliminate is the Crown Prince, and the second one he'll root out is definitely us in the north. So we must help the Crown Prince. Loin thought it made sense. But for now, we must cure his amnesia. Loin thought of someone who might be able to help, and said we could try finding him. Okay, but there is another important matter right now. Many filthy rats have appeared in our north recently. Spies, since you are back, brother, help clean them up, and expand our northern forces while you're at it. I looked at Loin and asked for his opinion. Of course, no problem. After dragging them out, remember that executing them personally is our northern style, isn't it? My brother and I smiled at each other. But there is still one problem. The Crown Prince. Are you going to tell the knights? Loin looked at me and asked. I thought about it. Better to plan at length later. Night arrived. It was the daily coaxing to sleep session. Cain still needed to hold my hand to fall asleep. Although I was annoyed, I could only endure it. However, his body has been recovering well recently. In a while, I can start training him properly. My Crown Prince raising plan is finally about to be officially implemented. Loin and I discussed through the night and finally hammered out our plan. 1. Root out the spies Elixir placed in the north. 2. Create a potion to disguise Cain's true identity. 3. Put Cain's education on the schedule. 4. Inform select close confidants of Cain's true identity and keep a close watch on the dynamics of the imperial capital. I am exhausted. Being a strong woman isn't easy. However, Loin went to repair the barrier. Why hasn't he come back after so long? Forget it. I trust him to handle things. I'll make the potion first. I'll strive to change Cain's conspicuous hair color today. At this moment, Loin took John to the border to repair the stones. Looking at the shattered barrier stones in the forest, he demanded an explanation. How has John been helping the Grand Duke manage the forest and guard the barrier? John could only apologize and admit his negligence. But Loin didn't care about that. His beloved sister was not even 20, yet had to shoulder so many responsibilities. It made his heart ache. And now, this Crown Prince is only gentle towards his sister. Could he be up to some trick? Also, that Elixir is currently unmarried. If he usurps the throne and wants to take an empress, given the strength of the northern forces, he might put Lois on the candidate list. That absolutely cannot happen. No matter who it is, I won't hand my sister over. None of them are worthy. Back in the secondary palace, I had already developed the potion. I made it following Lois's notes word for word. The smell seems okay, but since I'm not the real Lois, and this is my first time making it, is this really drinkable? It won't poison the crown prince to death, right? But probably not. I don't want to remake it either. The production process was too painful, and the effect only lasts half a year. I have to make it once every 6 months. This workload is too huge. Is there a labor bureau here to protect my rights? I want to file a complaint. How did the original owner manage a workload that only increased and never decreased? Forget it. Let's just give this stuff to him to drink. Then I called Jaden to come with me to Kane's place. Jaden also felt very idle recently since he hadn't helped me, and now he finally felt he could be of use. How is the situation in the capital recently? Hearing I had something to ask, Jaden asked happily like a child, "Which aspect do you want to know about?" indicating he had been closely monitoring the capital. Any news about His Majesty's funeral? Has anyone asked about the Crown Prince's whereabouts? His Majesty's funeral probably won't be held for another month. Currently, they are still looking for the Crown Prince, but suspicion hasn't fallen on us. Jaden, answer me seriously. Then in this situation, the throne won't stay empty forever. Is there any talk about who will succeed? I continued to press. After the funeral, the coronation ceremony should be held immediately. Good, this point hasn't deviated from the novel's plot. I thought to myself, Your Excellency, won't doing this bring unnecessary disaster upon us? Your Excellency wants to protect. Before Jaden could finish, I interrupted him. I have my own considerations for this matter. You don't need to worry about it. When John arrives, tell him to come to my room. I have something to discuss with you all. I dismissed Jaden and went to Kane's room alone. Just as I entered the room, Loin returned with John. Hearing what Jaden said, they understood my intention. Loin instructed John and Jaden to keep their mouths shut about future events. If matters here were known to the outside world, he would personally send them to hell. And from now on, if anyone wants to bully my sister or go against my sister's wishes, even if it's the Crown Prince, he won't let them off. At this moment, seeing Kane, I first symbolically asked about his well-being. But Kane was still cheesy, saying he was scared when he woke up and didn't see me. I could only comfort him, saying I went to make a potion. Kane was curious hearing about the potion. I told him it was the potion I mentioned last time to help him hide his hair and eye color for his protection. Kane looked at the potion in my hand and didn't speak. I thought, maybe he doesn't have an appetite drinking this early in the morning. So I told him no rush, he could drink it later. Focus on healing the wounds first. Even if others see, it doesn't matter. I can cover for you. Saying that, I prepared to take the potion away. But Kane grabbed it back and said, no, I'll drink it. As long as it's given to me by Lois, I'll drink it all. Suddenly Kane stared at me and asked, by the way, Lois, do you still like cute things? Kane's question really startled me. What did you say? What do you mean by still like? What does that mean? The Crown Prince definitely has a problem. When I came to his room to have him drink the potion, he actually asked me if I still liked cute things like before. What does this sentence mean? I didn't have time to think more before my brother returned with Jaden and John. I had to put this matter aside first. I introduced Kane to my other confidant, John. Kane still wore that cold face. Everyone present here, except Kane, were people who died following me in the original novel. I hope this time I can rewrite destiny. If I support this kid to the throne, then these people will surely be safe. Kane has been here for 3 weeks. After drinking the potion, his hair and eye color indeed changed. In the north, Kane's public identity is my cousin's son, the son of my missing father's half-brother. Although it's a bit far-fetched, this way he won't be suspected. I make him read many books every day, today as well. But this kid finished them in half an hour, and he remembered everything when I quizzed him. See me working. He also proposed to help me share the burden. I'm casual about it. After all, he'll have to deal with these things later. I thought to myself, if only he could grow up sooner. Then I would be the Emperor's teacher, and I could live a happy retirement life in the north. Kane saw the letter from the capital and opened it immediately. It said the late Emperor's funeral would be hosted by his brother, Duke Elixir. Since they couldn't find the Crown Prince, they could only hold the funeral first. They couldn't just leave the late Emperor lying there forever. But I clearly should be attending the funeral. Kane lowered his head, depressed. I patted his shoulder and told him, remember the powerlessness right now. The people who made you unable to attend your own father's funeral, they are all guilty. Only by becoming strong can you overthrow them. The small hand holding the letter suddenly clenched tight. He asked me, with cold and indifferent eyes, "That man I call uncle, is he going to be emperor?" I was startled by his cold expression. However, he immediately turned back into a harmless look. I didn't answer him. I just asked him, "Can you really not recall anything from the past?" He still said he couldn't remember, and, rubbing his hands like a child, he asked me, "Is it that since I have amnesia, I am useless to you? Am I just a good-for-nothing crown prince?" Of course not. In the future, you are going to. I almost blurted it out. He will meet his true love, Loin, fall in love at first sight, bathe in the river of love together, and inherit the throne. Almost said it. Scare me to death. Still in the raising plan right now. Can't give spoilers. I comforted him saying, "You will become a very excellent person. Don't worry, amnesia is not a stumbling block. It's just that it would be best if you could remember. That way you can find the real culprit and take back the power that belongs to you." Cain listened, looking dazed. Why do I feel like I'm an evil cult organization here? Brainwashing him, making him obedient, and all that. Such a Mary Sue trope. Suddenly my thoughts were interrupted by John coming in. It turns out the spy elixir placed in the north has been found. Let's go. Let's go see together who has the audacity to be a spy in the north. After the crown prince couldn't attend his father's funeral, we went together to see the spy sent by elixir. Unexpectedly, it was Hans, whose family and friends are all in the north. I really don't know what benefits he received from elixir to make him betray the north. Hans was terrified seeing me. Although I'm relatively lazy, rumors outside say I kill without blinking. So people who don't know me are basically very afraid of me. Hans knelt on the ground begging for mercy, saying if I spared him, he would be doubly loyal to me. I laughed. Your loyalty is too cheap. I don't need it. I turned to look at John. What is the rule of the knights? John answered, traitors are killed without mercy. Saying that, I picked up my long sword, ready to send Hans to hell. Hans shouted, my lord, I could die, but please spare my family. They know nothing. I beg you. I looked at him coldly and said, considering you have worked for me, I won't hurt your family. I will also tell your family that you died from a sneak attack while hunting monsters. Watch closely. I turned to Cain and told him, I will now teach you how to discipline subordinates. Watch carefully. I gripped my long sword tightly. Fast, accurate, ruthless. Hand raised, sword fell. The traitor was gone just like that. I couldn't avoid getting stained with blood. As the crown prince's teacher, I told him, if anyone betrays you in the future, do as I did. And I smiled at him. Cain looked at me, not knowing what to do. Heart racing, face flushing red, not daring to look directly. Me too, covered in blood like this, with what I thought was a motherly smile. In his eyes, I probably looked like a homicidal maniac. I shouldn't have smiled at him like that. What if I scared him so much he won't be close to me anymore? I looked at Cain and found his face was completely red. Did this kid get overly frightened? I quickly went up to ask if he was okay. Cain grabbed my hand back and told me not to worry. He was fine. He would remember my advice. Seeing him hold my hand, I didn't shake it off. Considered it a bit of comfort for him. Your Excellency, how should we deal with this body? John ran over to ask me. Suddenly, he saw Cain holding my hand. Thousands of thoughts flashed through John's mind at that moment. What is going on? Why are they holding hands? Disguise his body to look like he was bitten by monsters, then send it back to his home. I also stopped John's excessive imagination. Because in my eyes, Cain is just a child. I'm just his teacher. Cain's matter was finished, ready to call me to go inside together. I thought for small matters like disposing of a corpse, I surely didn't need to stay and watch. So I prepared to go inside with Cain. Seeing his smiling little face, I rejoiced that he wasn't scared by that side of me just now. Thinking of this, I naturally let go of his hand. Unexpectedly, Cain didn't let go. Instead, he held it tighter. He even said something inexplicable. Lois, don't let go. No matter what happens, don't let go of my hand. I took the crown prince back to the bedchamber. Suddenly, he let go of my hand and went back to his room to rest, claiming he felt unwell. Sure enough, such a scene is still too cruel for a child. But what I didn't know was that the crown prince wasn't scared by that scene. Instead, Cain, back in his room, recalled things from his childhood. At that time, father hadn't passed away yet, and there was no war in the imperial palace. It was a warm spring day. Cain went to practice swordsmanship as usual. On the way, he saw a young girl with long black hair. She looked incredibly dazzling on that path. That was Lois. Young Cain went up to ask what she was doing. Lois told him she was playing with a rabbit. She chased it here because the rabbit was too cute. Seemed to be a bit lost. She looked at Cain. You'll be scolded if you don't go to the training grounds, you know? Your Highness. Cain was surprised. You know me? Lois just smiled. Of course I know. It's so obvious. Don't you also know me? Your Highness, yes. Cain also knew she was Duke Vienna's daughter, Lois. Cain looked at the rabbit in Lois's hands and asked, "Do you like cute things?" Cute things? Lois didn't know how to answer for a moment. In this gap, the rabbit suddenly broke free and ran away. Lois couldn't be bothered to chase it. Cain offered to take her to find the Duke. "No need. My brother will come to find me soon." Lois declined Cain and stood up, seeing that this crown prince was actually half a head shorter than herself. "How long have you been learning swordsmanship?" "I'm learning swordsmanship too." To break the awkwardness, Lois started making small talk. Cain was curious why a girl would also learn swordsmanship. "Isn't it only men who need to learn?" Lois smiled and told him, "Who knows? Maybe one day I'll become the Northern Grand Duke." Seeing Cain looking dazed by her words, Lois had to say she was joking. "I'm learning swordsmanship just so I can better protect the North in the future, to prevent the North from being underestimated by the Empire." "Your Highness, you must study hard too. That is the only way you can protect your own imperial subjects." Lois smiled and said to Cain. Cain was touched by this smile. He didn't know if it was the seed of love or something else. It sprouted in his small body. As if possessed, he asked Lois if she could be his empress in the future. Lois took it as a joke and said, "I'll consider it after you grow up." After that, the two young children never met again. Cain was always busy receiving his education as the crown prince, while Lois truly became the Grand Duke of the North. The current Cain no longer possessed the innocence of his childhood. Occasionally, when he thought of Lois, he only thought about how Lois's power could help him ascend to the throne. "I must win him over properly." Good times didn't last long. The emperor died, and the crown prince fell into dire straits. Cain did it on purpose. He intentionally fled to the north. He intentionally broke the barrier and intentionally came to Lois's side. He had spent his whole life working to become the emperor, so he couldn't hand over his throne to anyone else. He had to take it back. He wanted to use Lois, and he arrived in the north with the mindset of taking a gamble. Unexpectedly, Lois didn't expose him. Instead, she helped conceal his identity and wanted to help him retake the throne. But he knew he couldn't trust others so easily, because from childhood to adulthood, there was always someone trying to get rid of him, even his closest wet nurse. So for the crown prince, trusting others was the most foolish thing. Before that, he needed to test the North's loyalty. So he first chose to feign amnesia. Did she ever think about treating me with sincerity? Cain thought to himself, including my running to the north and pretending to have lost my memory, it was all to use him. Moreover, I've been pretending to be obedient, because I know that only by acting obedient can I be likable. But why doesn't he suspect me at all? And he treats me so well. Is it real or fake? The current Cain fell into deep thought. He didn't understand what Lois's intentions were. Why was she willing to help him? And why was she so good to him? Was it really just a simple relationship between a lord and a vassal? But something fell off. When Lois smiled at me just now, I felt very strange. I felt my heart racing. What on earth is wrong with me? Cain was puzzled. During the meal, Lois was still worried whether Cain had recovered. "Are you all right? I didn't scare you just now, did I?" "Your Highness, you returned to your room without saying a word earlier. I was very worried." Lois asked Cain tentatively. Cain smiled and said, "Didn't you do that to protect me? I'm not afraid. Besides, why have you started using honorifics with me again?" I said I don't like it. I was in a dilemma. I expressed that the only person who can call the crown prince by his name is the empress. Speaking of the empress, why hasn't there been any news about the saintess recently? I asked Loin to check, but he found nothing. What is the saintess like? Will she be as I imagined? While I was still immersed in my daydreaming, Cain's voice interrupted me. "Except for you, no one calls me by my name. Not even in the past." "True. In the past, no one dared to call him that either." "Wait, the past. You remembered? Have you recovered your memory?" Lois was overjoyed. Did this kid remember? "I only remember a little bit. Not much, but I was afraid that if I told you, you wouldn't be as nice to me as before," Cain said, feigning grievance. "I won't. As long as your attitude toward me doesn't change, I won't change either. Whether it's before or after your amnesia, I will treat you the same as always. If you recover your memory and want me to treat you with proper etiquette, I will do that too." I spoke so sincerely. He should believe me, right? I have to say more nice things. After all, I still rely on him to enjoy a peaceful old age. At this moment, a flush of red appeared on Cain's face. Unknown if he was truly shy or pretending. "Then will you make a promise with me?" "Lois, of course. If I promise you, I will definitely do it," Lois replied. Suddenly, Cain changed the subject. "Is John your type? Why bring that up all of a sudden?" "Ha ha ha. How is that possible? He is the knight commander. He's not my type. My type is someone taller than me, with with a higher rank than me. That way I can learn things. Most importantly, he has to be handsome and rich. I started my fantasizing again. Wait, something seems wrong. This sounds exactly like Cain. Isn't that his setting in the novel? Forget it. Forget it. I need to avoid suspicion. He is the Saintus's man. I have to change my answer. Lois thought for a moment, then said to Cain, I like someone gentle, cute, and considerate. Speaking completely in the opposite direction of Cain's personality. Cain smiled slightly. So that's how it is. I understand. I will keep that in mind. We agreed to go scout the forest together. To raise him well, I have to teach him things in all aspects. Currently, he is practicing swordsmanship with John. This kid learns quite fast. Is this what they call muscle memory? While I was marveling at Cain's learning ability, he was knocked to the ground by John in one blow. Scared, I hurriedly ran over to ask if he was okay. This is the Crown Prince. Don't get him hurt. But was that really the truth? A few minutes ago, before Lois arrived, John and Cain were sparring. But John didn't expect that the 15-year-old Cain would be so formidable. And every strike was extremely ruthless. Especially those eyes, chilling with cold intent. A terrifying look he would absolutely never reveal in front of Lois. But in front of John, it was fully exposed. What was going on? Just as John was distracted thinking about this, Cain suddenly launched a fierce attack. Crap, he found an opening. John thought, I'm done for. I got distracted. He thought he was going to be injured by Cain. But in the next second, Cain stopped his movements and threw himself onto the ground. John was dumbfounded. What is this situation? Seeing Lois running over, John understood. This kid did it on purpose. He saw Lois coming, so he deliberately fell, including a few days ago during the execution of the spy. Because Cain was holding Lois's hand, John had paid a bit more attention and looked a few times. He was also warned by Cain with a glare. That look seemed to say, Lois is mine. And just now, while practicing swordsmanship, he looked like he wanted to kill me. But the moment Lord Lois arrives, he pretends to be weak. This kid is really... Lois didn't see any of this. She only saw a poor little thing knocked to the ground by John. Cain was even saying, it's all my fault, Lois. I was too nervous. Don't blame John. John was speechless. This kid is too good at acting. John, how is His Highness's skill? Lois asked John. His Highness is very talented. In a few more years, he should be able to surpass me. If he stops acting, that is. Of course, John kept the last sentence to himself. At this moment, Cain leaned in front of Lois and spoke. Why don't you ask me directly? Why ask John? Lois was about to answer when she saw a wound on Cain's face. What happened? What is this? It was caused by sword aura. John, you actually use sword aura? How could you be so careless? At this moment, Lois was very angry. No, my lord, it wasn't me. John defended himself feebly. If not you, then who? Is there anyone else here besides you? Lois didn't listen to John's further explanations. Clearly, this wound was indeed not caused by John. The Crown Prince injured himself to frame John. It's really troublesome to have it end up like this. Let this kid Cain go back and rest first. Lois originally wanted Cain to go back and rest, so she could discuss some matters with John. But Cain was unwilling, stating he wanted to stay and hear what they had to say. With no choice, Lois could only let Cain stay. Actually, it wasn't anything major, just matters regarding magical beasts and the border. In the past few days, magical beasts had rarely appeared. John felt a bit like he had grievances he couldn't voice. It seems they have decreased a lot, especially after Cain arrived. Is there a connection? But the original novel didn't mention this. Lois fell into thought. John noticed Lois's distress and suggested letting the scout team go take a look. No need, I'll go myself. I happen to be going to the forest with Cain today, anyway. John was shocked. Just the two of you? I'm not at ease with that. Let me go along. John requested to follow, but Lois refused. John had mixed feelings, thinking it must be that little fox, the Crown Prince, whispering pillow talk again. But that was indeed the case. Cain smilingly urged Lois to leave, and Lois really fell for it. But before that, she had to treat Cain's wound. Inside the palace, it was just Lois and Cain. While applying medicine to Cain, Lois told him, "You must learn to adapt to pain. Only then can you become stronger." Cain asked Lois like he was playing dumb. Then have you already adapted to it? Lois indicated she had. Cain expressed his heartache, saying he didn't want Lois to suffer from such pain anymore. You can help me, but you have to snatch the throne back first. At this moment, Lois already had a little scheme in mind. You want me to not be in pain? Isn't that simple? Wait until you become emperor, then help me completely eliminate the magical beasts in the north. And when that time comes, you have to marry the saintess. If there's a chance, I'd like to become good friends with the saintess too. Then I can rest easy. Maybe I can even teach Kane some dating tips. Although I haven't dated before, I've read plenty of romance novels. Just 5 more years. It will pass soon. My happy life is coming soon. All right, if becoming emperor is a good thing for you, I will work hard. But you also have to grant me one wish. Kane interrupted, Lois des dreams. Absolutely no problem. Lois agreed readily. Even 100 wishes are fine. You are my savior. After all, just one wish. I'm making a huge profit. Kane smiled and said, then it's settled. No taking it back. Later, I returned to the hall and found that Jaden had returned. Jaden went to the capital with my brother. That proves Loin should be back too, faster than I imagined. The main purpose of having Jaden follow Loin was twofold. One was to attend the late emperor's funeral. Secondly, it was for him to investigate the cause of the crown prince's amnesia. Seeing Jaden's haggard face, I knew he must have been exhausted recently, so I didn't rush to ask him about these things. It was more important to let him go back and rest first. Then I went to the drawing room to find my brother, Loin. Seeing Loin's spirited appearance, he didn't look overworked at all. Where's that person? Why did you come back alone? I looked around the drawing room, but didn't see a third person. You might have to wait a bit. The carriage was too fast, and he got motion sickness, so I arrived first. Seeing his amused expression, I was puzzled. Why isn't he tired at all? Loin swirled the wine glass in his hand and said, I can't wait to unveil that kid's true face. Once that person arrives, we'll know if that kid is faking it or if it's real. Loin revealed a wicked grin. At this moment, Kane pushed the door open and entered. Lois, so you were here. I've been looking for you for a long time. Kane came to find Lois, but when he saw Loin on the sofa, he muttered unhappily under his breath. TSK, you actually came back. A look of pure bad luck on his face. What did you say? Loin looked at his disdainful expression and felt very annoyed. Kane changed his tone instantly, smiling at Loin. Nothing. I looked at these two. Why is the atmosphere a bit subtle? Is there a smell of gunpowder? I interrupted their secret rivalry, thinking to myself, these two childish people. However, Kane seems genuinely cold to everyone else, yet gentle only to me. If he recovers his memory, will he stop being so obedient? Thinking of this, I actually felt a little disappointed. Maybe I've gotten used to his cute appearance. Lois, what's wrong? Kane's call pulled me back to reality. I vaguely told him I was fine, and I arranged for them to sit together. Obviously, Kane refused. He walked straight to Lois's side, not forgetting to bump into Loin on the way. Loin had nowhere to vent his anger. Helpless, I could only mediate the atmosphere. I changed the subject and asked him, when will that person arrive? Loin said he hasn't arrived yet. I guess it's not because of motion sickness. He probably drank too much and got delayed. Drank? Is it Seal? Loin was greatly shocked. You know Seal? In the original novel, Lois actually didn't know Seal. Because I have the perspective of God, I know of Seal's existence. Seal is a mage, but not publicly known. Plus, the original owner wasn't interested in mages, so she didn't know him. But this situation has become subtle. Because in the original novel, Lois and Seal shouldn't have had any interaction. First Kane came to the castle, then Loin was dismissed, and now Seal is here too. Things are becoming complicated. In the original novel, it seems Kane had met Seal. Was it something from childhood? I had a headache from all these changes. I didn't have time to worry about it. Loin was excitedly talking about how amazing Seal is beside me. Just then, Jaden came in too. He said he had something very important to tell me, so he ate some energy-replenishing medicine and rushed over. At this time, Kane wasn't interested in the matter. Saying he had things to do, he left. I looked at Jaden, curious about what the matter was. Jaden told me that during the Emperor's funeral, those nobles didn't look controlled. Instead, it seemed they were voluntarily obeying Duke Elixir. And Elixir had looked for me. Looking for me probably wasn't to win me over, but to get rid of me. But Elixir really is the murderer of the late Emperor. Actually, these things were supposed to be revealed in the third part. It just updated, and I transmigrated. Then I asked about the Sanus's current situation. Loin told me everything was fine. I thought so too. Even if Elixir's ambition is great, he wouldn't dare to rashly move against people from the temple. Jaden was very curious why I was so concerned about the Sanus's affairs. I could only tell him that I felt the Saintess could help Kane in the future. I couldn't exactly say they would be husband and wife later. Since the Saintess is safe, I can focus on cultivating Kane. Thinking of this, I prepared to go find him. Anyway, The important matters have been discussed, but I looked around and couldn't find him. I felt a little disappointed, because recently, he's been like a little follower baby. It was kind of cute, running behind but every day, suddenly him not being there feels a bit unfamiliar. Forget it, let's focus on work. When I was preparing to settle down and work, I saw a box with a keyhole. This keyhole was the shape of that necklace. This necklace was something that was by my side the first day I transmigrated here. I felt it would be useful, so I kept it. With an uneasy heart, I tried to open this box. Unexpectedly, it really fit. Inside was a diary. The content of this diary is strange. Why does it seem to have the ability to predict the future? How is this possible? While reading the diary, at this moment, the Crown Prince had already gone to another room. Seeing Seal lying on the bed, dazed from drinking, Cain wished he could give him a couple of slaps. It turned out he knew Seal was here all along, and the two of them indeed knew each other. Moreover, he also knew the correct way to wake up a drunken Seal. Cain picked up a fountain pen from the desk and stabbed it towards Seal's eye without hesitation. At this moment, Seal's magic gate opened. He woke up with a start, only to find that the person beside him was actually His Highness the Crown Prince. Scared, he fell off the bed immediately. So the person Lord Loin spoke of was you, Your Highness. Hearing Seal call Loin Lord, Cain was very disdainful. He ordered him to drink less. Seal looked at the current crown prince and discovered that his hair and eye color had changed. How was this done? Even he, a mage, didn't know. Also, the person with amnesia, Lord Loin mentioned. Is it you, Your Highness? Leaving aside that Your Highness is still alive and hiding in the north. Amnesia? You don't look like it. Actually, you haven't lost your memory, right? Seal asked Cain tentatively. Gloomy and cold, he threatened Seal. If you want to keep your tongue, don't talk nonsense. I saved your life, you know. You haven't forgotten, right? Indeed, 2 years ago, when Seal was dead drunk on the street, he got into a dispute with bystanders and almost died. It was the Crown Prince who saved him. Seal knew he needed to repay the favor, so he asked the Crown Prince what to do. Just lie to Lois. Tell him I have amnesia. Recovery is possible, but very slow. Seal didn't understand. Just lying is enough? I thought you wanted me to do something else. Scare me to death. But is this necessary? Seal couldn't help but ask. Yes, I like this date very much. Lois's smile appeared in Cain's mind. Because of the amnesia, Lois is partial to me. Treats me well, smiles at me, teaches me many things. I like his smile. If he knows I lied to him, he'll be angry. So you have to help me. Seal felt it was nothing. He thought Lois was magnanimous and understood power struggles well. Knowing Cain is the Crown Prince, he might not trust others, so feigning amnesia is normal. He will definitely understand you. Seal spoke his true thoughts word for word to Cain. Hearing Seal's words, Cain felt he was right, but he was equally unhappy. Does Lois help me just because of political relations? If I tell him the truth, Lois will definitely say it's okay and still stand by my side. But after that, it will definitely just be a simple lord and vassal relationship. I won't see Lois's smile anymore. He didn't want that. So Cain decided to keep pretending. But he stubbornly said, I will tell him slowly. I'm mainly afraid that if I say it, Lois will distance himself from me. I need his help right now. So that's how it is. Si elle soudainement réalise. If you want Grand Duke Lois to help you, actually the simplest and most effective method is marriage. Marriage? Cain was startled by Seal's sudden idea. Right, that's the best alliance. Besides, the age difference between you two isn't that big. Isn't it? Marriage? I've never thought about it, but it sounds pretty good. Hearing the word marriage, the Crown Prince not only didn't feel repulsed, but actually felt a little itch in his heart, and his heartbeat accelerated. What's going on? Is it just because I'm excited that Lois can help me? Your Highness, should I just say that? Just say you have amnesia and will recover. Just slowly. Tell him not to worry. Just say that. Yes, just say that. Cain recovered his indifference. Then you will slowly tell Grand Duke Lois later, right? Although it was just lying, Seal's target for lying was the Grand Duke of the North and her brother, not ordinary people. He was very afraid himself. Cain told Seal he would reveal the truth slowly later. But that wasn't what he thought in his heart. Seal was still a bit embarrassed, feeling that deceiving the Grand Duke of the North was scary. But the Crown Prince was even scarier. Cain saw through his little thoughts and directly issued a death order. If you say anything reckless to Lois, I will definitely cut your tongue out. You figure it out. After saying this, Cain left, leaving Seal alone, messy in the wind. But Seal was an optimist, thinking to himself, forget it, I'll just treat it as coming to the north to practice magic. He was very interested in the hair and eye color change. Everyone gathered in the shop. Seal lied to everyone according to the Crown Prince's instructions. Loin heard the answer he wasn't satisfied with and was very unhappy, because he always felt the Crown Prince was faking it. Loin looked at Seal viciously and asked, "Are you sure you're telling the truth?" Seal was sweating profusely. He stammered and told Loin, "Of course. Don't you know my skills?" His Highness must have suffered severe trauma. That's why he has amnesia. Loin was unwilling, but facing Seal's explanation, he had no choice. Lois sized up Seal sitting opposite her, thinking, so his guts are this small. In the original novel, he was a very powerful mage. I thought he would be arrogant. Lois turned to comfort the Crown Prince. "You only remember that little bit now, right?" Kane nodded. Lois smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. We'll take it slow. Don't be too disappointed." Kane pretended to be very aggrieved. "Lois, if my memory can't be recovered, will you be very disappointed?" To comfort this seemingly innocent little cutie, Lois held Kane's hand, continuing to comfort him. "I won't be disappointed over such a small thing." At this moment, Lois thought to herself, "Isn't this a huge blessing? The less he remembers, the more obedient he is, the more he listens to me. It's better for us to be close. Can you two let go of your hands while talking?" Loin asked them grumpily. Lois realized it was indeed inappropriate. After all, Kane is also a young man now. He's at the age where he can marry, not a child anymore. At this time, Seal spoke up. I have a presumptuous request. As a mage, I am very curious. How did you change His Highness's hair color?" Hearing this, Lois knew what Seal was planning. Actually, this cannot be spread to the outside. But he is Seal. Maybe he knows the origin of that diary. I could take the opportunity to exchange with him and win him over. Lois stood up and prepared to take Seal away for a private chat. At this moment, Kane and Loin were both confused. Why go talk alone? But Lois ignored them. She just said private matter and took Seal out of the room. Not far from the room, Lois slammed Seal against the wall. Eyes cold, she asked him, "You didn't lie just now, did you?" Lois wanted to confirm the matter again to avoid delaying her cultivation plan. Seal was scared witless. He nodded hurriedly. Compared to the Grand Duke, he was more afraid of offending the Crown Prince. Hearing this, Lois let him go, telling him, "If you lie to me, I will kill you directly." Then she pushed open the door to the adjacent room. "Kulmeen, I have something for you to do." I brought Seal in and asked him about the diary, but he knew nothing. I could only arrange for him to do other things. I gave him a herbal formula for creating temporary scars. Asked him to make it. Seal expressed he hadn't made this kind of medicine before. "Are your eyes for decoration? Didn't I already give you the formula? I gave you all our family's ancestral formulas. I don't like this attitude of yours. And aren't you a very powerful mage?" Hearing my threat, Seal shuddered. "I will try my best to make it. But what are you going to use this for?" Seal really is a curious baby. I looked at him coldly. "You don't need to know that. Shouldn't you go execute the work I gave you immediately?" Seal ran out the next second. "Actually, I was thinking, Elixir is already the emperor now. He might come to the north. After all, a new official applies strict measures. Although Kane has already changed his hair color, Elixir is his uncle after all. He is very familiar with him. So having some scars on Kane's face, I still can't give up on that." After Seal left, I started dealing with the mountain of work again. While taking a break, I looked at the diary on the table again. Seal didn't know what was going on either. The diary has the ability to predict the future. Predicting, but not a prophecy. I can only see it in text form. But this diary is written too unclearly, and it says certain conditions need to be met. I still have to research it, because this ability is really important to me. Maybe I can escape the suffering of labor earlier and enjoy my happy life. A few days later, I also made some adjustments to everyone's work in the north. Recently, my work has been very busy. I didn't have time to manage Kane, so I let John train Kane. After all, the cultivation plan is the most important thing. Loin also became busy with my adjustments. He took over the work John was supposed to do. Plus, recently the magical beast behavior has been strange. Loin established a scout team himself. Thinking of this, a knock sounded. It was Seal. He had already researched the medicine, but now he lacks a herb called moonflower. This kind of herb is at the border. Seal definitely can't get it, so I told him to find my brother. Seal looked reluctant. He asked me tentatively, "Can I ask John directly? I'm a little afraid of Lord Loin." "So you don't like my brother? Then what about me?" I looked at him with amusement and asked. Seal already thought I was scary. Now he felt it even more. He ran out again in a hurry. Am I that terrifying? But thinking that I have so many capable people around me, I was very gratified. Otherwise, I would die of busyness. The knock sounded again. I thought it was Seal again, but it was Jaden who came in. As soon as he entered, he knelt on the ground. "My lord, something terrible happened. His Highness Cain. He's injured." "What did you say?" Hearing that Cain was injured, I was also very anxious. I went to the scene of the incident immediately. First, I asked clearly about the cause of the matter. Before the incident, Cain was practicing swordsmanship with John as usual, but his mind was elsewhere. At that moment, Cain's head was filled with thoughts like, what has Lois been busy with lately? Why hasn't she come to see me at all? Has she forgotten me? Is it because I said my amnesia is healing slowly last time, so she's ignoring me? But John saw the distracted Cain and spoke up to remind him. However, Cain stubbornly refused to admit his distraction. John still felt that Cain was distracted and no longer suitable for practicing swordsmanship. Hearing John's words, Cain thought to himself, if I end the practice early today, will Lois come see me? But she also said she likes people with superb swordsmanship. If I give up now, she will definitely be very disappointed in me. Adolescent boys are just like this. They always like to overthink. John, do you have a fiancé? Cain's sudden question confused John. No, I don't, because the job of a knight commander is dangerous, and one could lose their life at any time. Very few commanders get married. Cain didn't believe it. He felt John didn't marry because he liked Lois. Hearing this, John immediately exploded, stating he never had such thoughts. John couldn't understand why the Crown Prince would think that. Suddenly, he connected it to all the previous incidents. Holding Her Excellency's hand, deliberately getting injured to frame him. Was it all to attract Her Excellency's attention? Let's continue practicing. Cain's voice interrupted John's wild thoughts. John was a bit skeptical and asked him repeatedly, "Are you ready?" Cain picked up the sword in his hand and told John decisively that he had no problem. When they danced with their swords to practice again, Cain had other strange thoughts. Could it be that Lois is already engaged, and I just don't know? Then what do I do if she is engaged? Thinking of this, the sword in his hand stopped. He didn't manage to counter John, who was exerting his full power, so his arm was stabbed. Inside the hall, John kept apologizing and repeatedly said it was all his fault. At this moment, Cain actually spoke up for John, saying it was his own distraction that led to this situation. Having figured out the reason, I didn't blame John either and told John not to always take the fault upon himself. You are the commander of the knights. After speaking, I let John withdraw. Now, only Cain and I were left in the hall. I told Cain earnestly, you can't be like this in the future. If this were on a battlefield today, you might have lost your life. Cain put on that pitiful expression again and said to Lois, I kept wondering why you haven't come to see me lately. Did I do something to make you angry? That's why I got distracted. After speaking, he reached out his hand, wanting Lois to hold it. I looked at Cain's outstretched hand and told him, I'm not angry, just too busy lately. And in the future, we can only hold hands when no one is around. Because you're the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince cannot casually hold other people's hands. After saying that, I took his hand. Cain agreed with my statement, with a shy look on his face. Taking advantage of this warm atmosphere, I felt I could make our relationship even warmer. I gently stroked his cheek and told him as a teacher and a sister, you are the most important person to me. I know you are injured. I was really worried about you. Then can you promise me you will always treat me as the most important person? Cain asked with a shy face. Of course, I promise you. Now our relationship has taken a step further, right? That's what I thought in my heart. Cain smiled happily. He didn't just see Lois as a sister or a teacher. At this moment, the seed of love had already taken root and sprouted in his heart. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, another year passed. Cain would also welcome his 17th spring with me in the north. He no longer had that childish face. As he grew up, the contours of his face became clearer. He even seemed a little handsome. Today was also Cain's swordsmanship training day. I decided to go watch his training. Seeing me, Cain was very delighted and indicated he would perform well. While I was watching from the side, Seal popped out from somewhere. He secretly told me, His Highness is indeed royalty. His physical development is just different from ordinary people. Since that day, Seal had also stayed in the north. Actually, I was quite troubled at the time about how to keep him here to be of use to me. Unexpectedly, he took the initiative to stay as a guest, probably coveting the beautiful scenery of the north. So, taking advantage of his drunkenness, I made him sign an unequal treaty. At first, he expressed great dissatisfaction with this treaty. but later I bought him off with a top-configured laboratory. Moreover, the current seal not only develops herbs for me, but also helps me gather intelligence from the shadows. He's quite useful, but for every piece of news he brings, I have to exchange it for wine. However, it is still very worth it. He came today to bring me a piece of explosive news. That is, Emperor Alexei wants to choose an empress. Choose an empress? The novel didn't say he got married. Maybe he isn't the protagonist in the novel either, so it was glossed over. It seems this is his second year as emperor, right? How old is Emperor Alexei? I turned my head and asked Seal. He's 25. Seal answered me. Then who do you think is the most likely lady? I'm very afraid he will choose the Saintess. After all, that is Kane's future empress. Seal listed a bunch of names of ladies I didn't know. I asked Seal, Alexei wouldn't choose the Saintess, right? Si elle s'eût looked. How was the Saintess possible? The temple wouldn't allow it either. Hearing this sentence, I put down my suspended heart. As long as he doesn't marry the Saintess, I don't care what he does. Seal came over with a sly look again and said, Your Excellency, do you not plan to get married? Seal is good in every way, except he talks too much and gossips. I told him dating someone inferior to yourself is a very hard thing, because you will make him feel inferior. I feel that in the entire empire, there isn't any man stronger than me. Seal blurted out again, There's the Emperor. I smiled. Alexei? I am protecting Kane precisely to drag him off the throne. Have you forgotten? I looked at Kane, who is still practicing swordsmanship. The most important thing now is to support him to ascend the throne. Then if His Highness ascends in the future, wouldn't his conditions meet your requirements then? Seal was still speaking, unwilling to give up. I was helpless. I indicated that I am only his teacher. Moreover, his wife is someone else. I have already scouted her for him. Seal wanted to continue gossiping, but I sent him away. Before leaving, Seal said he was going to the border. I also arranged for a knight to accompany him. Speaking of the border, the recent magical fluctuations are because the border changed owners. The owners of the border were previously dragons. They wouldn't change owners for no reason. Now it must be that someone else has intervened. But recently, I haven't had time to manage this. My primary task now is to let Kane ascend the throne earlier. Kane's swordsmanship training over here also ended. John lost. This was also something I hadn't expected. Kane is already this powerful. Then he ran happily in front of me to claim credit. He got too close. I couldn't help but take a step back. Then I prepared to take Kane out for a trip in the afternoon, because I had promised him before that if he won in swordsmanship, I would take him out to play. John, who was on the side, heard this sentence and couldn't help saying, No wonder he worked so hard today. After saying this, he was met with a vicious glare from Kane. Then we prepared to change clothes and leave the city. It's been a long time since we relaxed like this. Let's leave work behind and have good fun today. After changing clothes, we arrived at the outer city of the north. Looking at the scenery of the streets outside, I lamented it's really been a long time since I left the castle, and I really should go inspect the territory. Let's go in a while. I haven't been for a long time. Can I go inspect with you? Kane asked suddenly. I rejected him directly. No, if others recognize you, it will be very dangerous if word reaches the capital. Hearing this, Kane thought I was caring about him. Actually, it wasn't that I didn't care about him. I cared about my north. If he is discovered, my north will definitely be in danger. After all, harboring the crown prince is a felony. But I'm a duplicitous woman. I told Kane, I am worried about you, but I'm also worried about the north. If you're in danger, the north will also be in danger. I worry about everyone. Kane looked at me with a bit of disappointment, indicating that if I go to inspect, he won't be able to see me for a long time. Actually, I was also troubled because there are still many things I haven't handed over to Kane. Can I take the medicine Seal developed and go? The one that creates scars. Is that okay? He still wanted to follow me, unwilling to give up. Indeed, that medicine has been made. However, it's best not to use it unless necessary. Mainly, I don't want Kane exposed outside for too long. While I was still thinking, Kane reached out his hand. Can I hold you? Looking at him like this, I thought I still had to keep a distance from him. After all, he's almost an adult. He isn't a child anymore. He said with a very unhappy expression, Didn't we agree? We can hold hands when it's just the two of us. I compromised helplessly, holding his hand. I discovered his hand had already become so big. Then I reminded him that this was his first time here, telling him not to get lost. Coming to the main street, seeing the bustling market, I was very happy. This was the original owner's plan. I helped her realize them one by one. including the mines at the border. Moreover, these are actually all my sources of income. However, should I add another project this year? I was lost in thought about these matters. Kane noticed my distraction. Do you find it very boring being with me? We haven't come out together for a long time. Actually, I'm very happy today. But Kane's hesitation in speaking let me know that what I did was a bit inappropriate. But this also seems wrong. His expression is like a boyfriend who is unhappy because his partner is distracted during a date. No, what am I thinking? Definitely not. It's just a younger brother and older sister out playing right now. Then I sincerely apologized to Kane, stating I wouldn't be distracted anymore. Walking on the road, Kane saw the streets of the north and lamented, "The roads in the north are also very wide, not any narrower than the capitals at all." I told him, it's because I was afraid something might happen here, and it would be inconvenient for the knights to pass through, so I widened the roads. Speaking of this, Kane's memory seems to have slowly recovered. He mentions the capital more and more often. Every time I see him now, I always feel he really turned from a child into a youth slowly. He grew up well. If he stays this well-behaved and gentle, I won't be cruelly executed by him later. However, what's strange is Lois clearly cherished the North so much and loved the people of the North. Why would she cause a rebellion? I can't figure it out. Lois, do you still remember we met when we were young? Kane's voice interrupted my thoughts. When we were young, did you remember everything? I was happy he recovered his memory on one hand, but afraid on the other, because I basically know nothing. The diary didn't mention it. I also transmigrated here. Kane told me he only remembers things about me and him, and asked me again. I could only prevaricate, saying it was too long ago. I don't really remember. Suddenly, Kane pulled me into his arms and said, I asked you back then if you wanted to be my empress. Huh? What? While I was still surprised, Kane continued, I asked you back then if you wanted to be the empress. And your answer was, you would consider it after Kane became an adult. Doomed. I don't have this memory at all. Kane pressed, what is your answer now? I could only ask bracingly. I asked you before if you wanted to be the empress? Kane frowned and said, don't you remember? I seem to have a little impression. I could only continue to play dumb. I feel the reason Kane asked this before must be because Lois could help him. What did he ask? Was it when Lois was still a palace maid? Kane obviously didn't believe me. He looked at me with cold eyes and said, did you forget? Lois was startled by this look. What is this situation? Isn't this look exactly the kind of look the obsessive male lead in romance novels has when he goes crazy over the female lead? But what is his intention in asking Lois this question? It makes one nervous. I don't want to become the empress. Before I could think much, Kane suddenly called my name in a low voice, saying, the capital seems to have sent people. I answered, where? Kane motioned with his head towards that side. He said, there are two men standing in front of that flower-selling carriage. Do you see them? They both speak with a southern accent. I pondered, if it's the South, are they Elixir's people? Suddenly, a sentence from Kane shocked me greatly. If they aren't ordinary tourists, should we kill them? What? I asked in disbelief. Only by weeding out the roots can we avoid future trouble, Kane continued. What you said makes sense, but there are too many people around. And even if I don't act, there are many people who can help me deal with them. We finally came out to play. Let's not be spoilsports. I'll send someone over to handle it, I said to Kane with a smile. Kane also said to me with a smile, I'll listen to you. We continued walking on the street. I couldn't help lamenting, how long has it been since I rested like this? Now it really feels like going for a drive. Seeing the smiles on the faces of the two children next to us, I sighed. How can a Northern Grand Duke be so busy? I thought the descriptions of the Northern Grand Duke being cold and ruthless in the original work were just settings. But looking at it now, it's all natural. Work is so busy, where would you have time to smile? Suddenly, I saw a fortune-telling shop on the side and zoned out. There's actually such an interesting shop here. Kane asked me, Lois, what are you looking at? I didn't answer immediately. Kane didn't wait for my reply and said to let me play here by myself. He was going to buy something. I thought to myself, what could he buy here? He doesn't lack anything. But I didn't ask anything either and let him go. Watching him leave, I thought Kane actually left me to walk alone. Suddenly, I felt my child had grown up. Is this the feeling of seeing a younger brother become independent? Although we will separate in 4 years. But I don't know why. I've always had this feeling recently. I thought to myself, wake up, don't think wild thoughts. Then I turned and lifted the curtain of the fortune-telling shop. There was a sweet smell inside. The crystal ball on the table was also sizzling. Suddenly, the fortune teller spoke. I have been waiting for you, Grand Duke. Your Excellency, do you know me? I cover my face with a robe, yet he could still recognize me. Did he know Lois before? I think you have questions you want to ask me, the fortune teller said. I became interested hearing this. Asked him to continue. The fortune teller smiled slightly. The ability to predict the future. Isn't Your Excellency looking for clues related to this? I was greatly shocked. What? Does he know? The fortune teller continued. I know the secret regarding that ability you're looking for. The corners of the fortune teller's mouth raised as he said, I know the secret regarding that ability you are looking for. I sized up the other party. Does this woman know about the ability to predict the future? Then I asked back, fortune teller, what do you know? The fortune teller said with a slightly cunning look in his eyes, if I tell you, what can you give me? To actually dare to ask me for benefits so blatantly. I stared at him and said to him, you are really abrupt. After all, a transaction requires paying a price. The fortune teller smiled slightly. I was furious hearing this sentence, thinking how there could be such a person threatening me. Do you know thanks to whom you can live on this land? I stared at him fiercely. The fortune teller wasn't afraid. Instead, he asked me, you're joking, right? Hearing this, I gripped the hilt of my sword and said to him, joking? Immediately after, I drew the sword and pointed it at him, threatening, do you take this as me joking with you too? Even if I kill you here, no one will blame me. Before he could speak, I continued, your life was given by me. If I kill you today, who dares to blame me? Suddenly, the fortune teller laughed loudly. Then he changed into another appearance, from an old woman into a girl with pink hair. Isn't this May? I thought silently in my heart. Why is May here? Then May said to me respectfully, it's my loss. She leaned close to me and said, I can tell you everything I want to know, which is the thing needed to predict the future. Is my blood? I turned my head and asked in confusion, my blood? I thought carefully. After the original owner became the Grand Duke, she was often attacked by assassins and suffered heavy injuries. Could it be that the original owner saw the future at that time? If predicting the future requires bleeding, then it's not some amazing ability. Wouldn't all the blood be drained? While I was still thinking, May looked at me and said, the Crown Prince is coming soon. It seems she even knows about Cain being in the north. In the original work, May is both a magician and a wizard. She's a very special person. And in a relationship between Cain and me, she always maintained a neutral attitude. Maybe she's also Elixi's person. Or it's possible she will defect to him after a while. I asked her coldly, why do you know the Crown Prince is in the north? While I was discussing with May, I didn't know anything about what Cain was doing right now. At this moment, Cain lied about going to buy things, but actually had a little scheme in mind. Those two people just now, he was certain they were people sent by Elixi, because Lois didn't attend the funeral and the coronation ceremony. So Elixi definitely suspected. Cain looked at these two people who might be sent by Elixi, thinking that although Lois told him not to interfere, to be safe, it's better to get rid of them. I'll leave the corpses to John to handle. He did as he said. Cain circled directly behind them. Before the two could react, he took out one person directly. The other person looked at the man in front of him who looked exactly like the Crown Prince, but possessed forbidden red copper eyes, confused. Before he could figure it out, Cain raised his sword and sent him to the afterlife. When leaving, he didn't forget to complain, it's all your fault, almost ruined my date. Looking at the bloodstains still left on his face, he thought, I have to clean up before going back. After all, Lois likes my face very much. However, Lois seems very dull about feelings. Thinking of this, Cain suddenly saw flowers by the roadside. The flower-selling girl wouldn't let any customer go. She turned and asked Cain, do you need to send flowers to your lover? Seeing the yellow flowers in the flower girl's hand. This kind of flower is very rare in the north. So many ladies like it very much. Cain thought, Lois seems to like blonde hair. Then she should also like yellow. Cain asked the flower girl to pick some of the best flowers and made a large bouquet. Holding the flowers on the way back, he thought, this way, I can give her flowers and cover up the smell of blood on me. She should like it, right? Just like that, Cain walked towards Lois's direction. At this time, I was still dealing with May in the fortune-telling shop. I asked her very seriously, how do you know the Crown Prince is in the north? May played with her short pink hair and said suspensefully, actually, before coming to the north, I didn't know he was here. But his royal aura is too strong. I sat on the chair, looked straight at her, and asked, does that include the current emperor? May rested her chin in her hands and answered me, are you saying this to test me? But rest assured, I don't want to be enemies with you. I looked at her coldly, but apart from my own people, I trust no one else. May said, you want me to prove I am your person? I sized her up and reminded her, if a person sincerely wants to become my person, they should proactively prove it to me, right? Then she stood up and said to me, I will prove it to you very soon. Then May bowed to me. She said before the crown prince arrived, she would leave first. I asked curiously, why are you hiding from Cain? She was greatly surprised and asked me, you actually call him by his name directly? May's surprised reaction seemed normal to me, because ordinary people are not allowed to call royalty by their names directly. But I am an exception, because Cain had amnesia before and only remembered me and relied on me very much. So I just went along with him, taking care of him like a younger brother. That's how this came about. It's only natural she finds it strange now. I looked at May and didn't intend to explain. Probably sensing Cain's aura approaching, she left in a hurry. Before leaving, she said she would come back to find me soon. I was wondering what scheme she was plotting and why she said she would come and find me soon. Then I saw a golden dove brooch dropped on the ground. She must have left it intentionally. Should I take it? Loin. I heard Cain's voice from behind. I turned around and saw Cain holding a bouquet of yellow flowers in his hands and asking me, how is it? Do you like it? I smiled slightly and said to Cain, really beautiful. The flowers, and you are both beautiful. Cain's heart bloomed with joy. He said to me, am I beautiful too? I answered definitely. Cain's mouth and face were full of smiles. I touched Cain's head and said to him, actually, you looked better when you had blonde hair. What a pity. Then he took the opportunity to rub against my hand and asked me, Lois, do you like blonde hair? I thought seriously. Actually, not really. It's just that in manga, aren't those white moonlight male lead characters usually blonde? I looked at his shy face and said to him, yes. Blonde hair is always glittering. Very beautiful. Cain handed the flowers to me and said, Lois, your hair is also very beautiful. I replied, thanks. Then continued to ask, is this bouquet for me? He nodded, but I thought to myself, why did he suddenly mention my hair? And what does giving me flowers mean? Cain also saw the golden dove brooch on the ground, asking me, what is that? Someone gave it to me, but looking at it puts me in a bad mood. Cain asked me, don't you want to throw it away? I have my own ideas. I want to take it back to show Seal, because I don't know what it is yet. Then I put the brooch into my pocket. I thought to myself, she said she would come find me again. This makes me a bit worried. I have to confirm it properly. I looked at the flowers in my hand and asked Cain, did you go to buy flowers just now? Cain said to me, because the flowers are beautiful. I covered my hair with a robe, thinking they were indeed beautiful. On the way back with Cain, inadvertently, I smelled a very heavy scent of blood. Cain saw my expression was wrong and asked, what's wrong? I hurriedly said, nothing. I thought, could it be my illusion? Did he kill both of those people in such a short time? Suddenly a pigeon came from the sky. Isn't this Loin's bird? Could it be that something happened? We have to go back to the castle. Arriving at the main hall, I saw John and asked him where Loin was. John said, Lord Loin is waiting for you in your office. Then I asked Anna to take the flowers back to the study. I turned straight away and walked into the office. As soon as I entered, I saw Loin looking serious. He handed me an envelope directly and said, this is the news I got from the palace. I opened the envelope and saw the content inside. It was that Elixir planned to visit the north. I whispered, what the F? Immediately realizing it was inappropriate, I hurriedly covered my mouth. Loin asked me what that phrase meant. Then he said, although it was his first time hearing this word, it felt like a curse word. I held the envelope awkwardly and hurriedly said, no, it means nothing. While I was still feeling awkward about what just happened, Loin's voice interrupted my awkwardness. Lois, what do you plan to do? At this time, everyone had arrived in the main hall. I turned and asked Jaden, what do you think is the probability that the news of His Highness being in our north has leaked? Jaden shook his head and said, almost none. I thought about it and agreed. After all, as soon as we discover spies here, my brother will dispose of them. Speaking of this, Loin even felt a little smug. And seeing Loin's calm and unnervous appearance, it means the news definitely didn't leak from our side. I suddenly remembered those two people in the north. Then asked John, have those two people been dealt with? John nodded and said, I have already thrown their bodies to the border. Indeed, disposing of bodies in the north is too convenient. Except for the towns, it's almost all forests here. But why does His Majesty the Emperor want to come to the north? Did he say? I asked Jaden. After saying this, I saw Cain's gloomy face. Sure enough, he is still very sensitive hearing the words His Majesty the Emperor. After all, Elixir stole his throne. He definitely wants revenge. I also thought about when Cain was sparring with John before. I found his competitive spirit is strong. So this time, the matter of Elixir visiting the north will definitely stimulate the hatred and competitive spirit in Cain's heart. After pondering, I suddenly thought of the ultimate question. Where should I hide Cain? Or should I just let Elixir see him? Then Jaden interrupted my thoughts and replied to my previous question. In the letter His Majesty sent us, he wrote that he hasn't seen Your Excellency for a long time, so he wants to see you. Loin mocked, he speaks so nicely. Of course, that's what I thought too. His malicious intent was too obvious. Since Lois manages the North, their power is equal. The two have always been in a hostile relationship. However, in the original novel, during Lois's rebellion, when she betrayed Cain and killed Loin, they likely joined forces. But what does that have to do with me? I won't repeat the same mistakes this time. Jaden also expressed his view, saying he didn't believe Emperor Elixir's words either. After all, Elixir had always wanted to get rid of me. Seeing Jaden's worried look, I told him it was okay. Since His Majesty insists on coming, I can't stop him. If I refuse to see him and keep the gates closed, the label of treason will be pinned on us again. Now let's just clarify one thing. What is his purpose in coming? And then protect His Highness the Crown Prince. So, open the city gates. This time, I can only give everything to protect the North and my people. After discussing this, I called Cain out privately. I asked for his thoughts. Did he want to go to another territory or stay here? Because if Elixir discovers him, he's done for. And our North would also bear the crime of treason. Seeing his pitiful look, asking me, Lois, what do you want me to do? I thought about how he won't be this obedient once he regains his memory later. It's actually a bit regrettable. I told Cain, you choose for yourself. Cain smiled and said, I choose to stay. I was still a bit in disbelief. After all, this single decision could lead to his death. I asked again, are you sure? Cain smiled and said yes. I can't let you be disappointed in me. Seeing his confident appearance, I felt a little more at ease. Because of Elixir's visit, the entire palace was being cleaned. Looking at the scene, I lamented that it had indeed been a long time since the North had visitors. At this moment, I saw the brooch in my hand and thought of May again. I felt Elixir's visit might be related to her too. Regarding this brooch, I had asked Seal about it. He also said there was nothing special about it. Lois, what is this? Cain's voice behind me interrupted my thoughts. Oh, it's just that brooch I mentioned last time. I told him. Then can you give this to me? Cain asked me for the brooch. Strange. Didn't he say he didn't want it last time? But he said it would be useful. Thinking this thing shouldn't be dangerous, I gave it to him. After parting with Cain, we all waited for Elixir's arrival. Jaden entered my office and told me, Elixir is here. Then I strapped on my long sword, dressed properly, and prepared to welcome him. According to the rules, one cannot carry a sword when seeing the Emperor. But outside forces in the North are an exception because danger can occur at any time in the North. Our group arrived outside the palace. Finally seeing you. As the carriage door opened, Elixir stepped out. I immediately performed the bow of subject. After all, this formality is necessary. Elixir smiled and said, seeing you in this manner is quite subtle. There is no need for such formalities between us. Rise. Naturally, I didn't hesitate to stand up. After seeing his face clearly, I realized he was quite handsome. I exchanged a few pleasantries, congratulating him on his ascension. Elixir smiled and said, you should have congratulated me at the coronation ceremony. Loin, hearing this, wanted to help me out. Didn't Vianu's eldest son go to congratulate you? Please be understanding. Obviously, Elixir didn't buy it. He replied, but the one I wanted was Lois. This remark shocked everyone present. Next, we prepared to enter the hall. Elixir spoke directly to Lois. I came this time because I have something to say to you. I was curious what it was, but he kept me in suspense, saying, promise me first, and I'll tell you. Is he an elementary schooler? Then I politely told Elixir, I must hear what you have to say before I can make a decision. He turned to stare at me and said seriously, Lois, are you willing to become my empress? Hearing Elixir's words, I couldn't believe it. So, this was his purpose for coming here. He also noticed my expression and said bluntly that I looked unwell. I could only awkwardly say, I was dazzled by your golden hair. Elixir continued to press. What are your thoughts? I raised my doubts. Elixir was also direct and undisguised, saying, no one is more suitable than me. I am different from those noble ladies. I immediately refuted him. Elixir smiled and said, if I confuse you with others, I wouldn't have come to the North personally. In the original work, Lois probably experienced this too, right? But the novel never mentioned them getting married. It must have been rejected by Lois. So what should I do now? Looking at Elixir in front of me, although he was smiling, that cold feeling just wouldn't go away. This made me involuntarily think of Cain. I cannot let Cain become like this. Seeing I didn't answer him, Elixir asked if I wanted to return to the castle. I indeed wanted to go back because Elixir definitely wouldn't propose to me in full public view. That way, I could stall for time and think of a way to reject this marriage. But he saw through it. You don't need to think about it. The people who followed me to the north know I'm going to propose to you, and they have tacitly accepted it. So no one will stop this. My brow tightened. They all know. I asked Elixir back. Of course. Otherwise, why would I come to the north? Wouldn't they find this matter nonsensical? I thought to myself, has his power grown so great that no one dares to resist? Is no one concerned about the life or death of the crown prince anymore? Moreover, when Elixir ascended the throne, no one objected. Since his power is so great, his desire to marry me must also be to acquire the north, right? Thinking of this, I asked him directly, what is your true purpose in coming here? Just say it. I like your directness. I want more imperial power. If we join forces, no one will dare to resist. Elixir expressed his thoughts without concealment. To put it plainly, isn't it just using me? He speaks so bluntly. Joining forces sounds nice, but isn't it just acquiring the northern forces? I rejected him directly. I don't want to be empress. The position of empress doesn't hold much appeal to me. Besides, I like my current power. I just want to live as I please in the north. After marriage, you wouldn't share power with the empress anyway. So why should I go to the capital? Furthermore, I have grievances against you, your majesty. You fired my brother a while ago. I poured out my dissatisfaction all at once. Elixir smiled and said, are you this direct when speaking to the emperor? Besides, your brother probably didn't like that position either. When you become my empress, the position of Grand Duke of the North will be vacant. Your brother can take office. So you had planned this all along. This way, the North won't be snatched by other noble families, and everyone becomes your people, right? Hearing this, Elixir didn't get angry. He just smiled. I thought, this person is truly terrifying. I want to say more, but Elixir suddenly cupped my hair in his hands. He brought it to his lips and kissed it, saying coldly, I seem to sense a familiar murderous intent nearby. Just now, a handsome man with blonde hair and blue eyes kissed my hair in front of everyone. And this man is the emperor. It inevitably makes people's imaginations run wild. I heard there is a new special effect now. Just leave a like in the comments, and a heart will appear on the screen. Everyone give it a try. But his next sentence made me nervous. I seem to sense a familiar murderous intent, Elixir said coldly. Murderous intent? Did he sense Kane's aura? No way. I turned my head sharply. I saw Loin's face full of murderous intent. So he was talking about my brother. Loin has always been a syscon. Seeing a scene like this, he must be very unhappy. Then I grabbed the Emperor's wrist and pulled him closer, speaking in a voice only the two of you could hear. Your Majesty, remember one thing. Don't touch me casually in the future. This is the North, not the capital. Even if something happens to you here, or some other accident, no one will know. My words were intended to be a threat. But unexpectedly, Elixir smiled and said, I just like you like this. That is why I want to possess you. Looking at him, I thought, does this person have some special fetish? However, I must refuse this marriage, right? I can use my father's disappearance as an issue. Your Majesty, I have a proposal. For a noble marriage, one must obtain the consent of all immediate family members. You should know this. Even though I'm a Grand Duke, I need to abide by this rule. If my father agrees to this marriage, then I can consider it. I am relying on my father's disappearance to refuse this marriage. Elixir didn't speak, but looked at me with an amused expression. What I didn't know was that while I considered my interaction with the Emperor as normal conversation, in others' eyes, it looked like intimate behavior. Even Loin and Kane had their own little thoughts in their hearts. A few minutes ago, Loin saw that the bystanders were all the Emperor's confidants and had already guessed Elixir's purpose. When he heard Elixir say the proposal words, his guess was confirmed. He certainly wouldn't allow it. This Emperor looks gentle and refined on the surface, but he is actually a cunning snake, the kind that eats people without spitting out the bones. He cannot let his sister fall into deep water and scorching fire. Thinking of this, he couldn't help clenching his fists and furrowing his brows. At this moment, Kane's mind wasn't idle either, thinking about the criteria for a spouse Lois mentioned before. Likes blonde hair. Height must be a head taller than her. Position must be higher than hers, so she can learn things. And most importantly, likes someone gentle and considerate. Isn't this describing Elixir? Although he is sinister and cunning, his public image is that of a gentle appearance. Lois will definitely be deceived by his appearance. Thinking of this, Ken also emitted a cold aura. Two men with black hair and red eyes simultaneously emitted terrifying auras. But the people nearby had no situational awareness. Some nameless nobody appeared, saying Lois and the Emperor were a good match, saying the Emperor used to be a duke, so they surely have many common topics. A Grand Duke should go be an Empress. Every woman's ultimate dream is to be Empress. She shouldn't stay in this barren land. John, hearing the man discussing Lois, stopped the man's speech. But unexpectedly, he intensified, saying things like the Grand Duke is a woman and the North isn't suitable for women. Hearing these words made Loin, who was already angry, even more furious. He threatened, "If you speak nonsense again, I'll cut out your tongue." The man shouted in anger and embarrassment, "Loin, what are you being arrogant for? You are no longer the Knight Commander, and your position in the capital is gone too. You dare talk to me like this? And the Emperor is here too. Do you dare do it?" Loin found these words amusing and pressed closer step by step. "Did you forget this is the North? Whatever I do, the Grand Duke will protect me. As for the Emperor, do you think His Majesty cares about you or the Grand Duke? You really think I don't dare touch you? If you don't want to die, shut your mouth." Loin's imposing manner instantly scared the man, and he fled in panic. Cain watched Loin driving away the trash and thought, not bad, he's still somewhat useful. When he turned his head to look at Lois again, he discovered that scene. Elixir was kissing Lois's hair. At this moment, Cain could no longer sit still. Watch closely. This beautiful woman had her hair kissed by the Emperor in public, and he proposed. The little puppy, silently guarding Lois nearby, could no longer sit still. Elixir actually dared to do this. How could he? Thinking of this, Cain gripped the sword at his side. In this instant, he had a strong impulse to kill Elixir in front of everyone. Just then, Lois turned around, and their gazes met. Cain suddenly thought, I cannot be discovered. If news of Lois protecting me gets out, it's over. She will definitely fall into danger. I cannot let Elixir discover me. Thinking of this, Cain's desire to become emperor grew stronger. If I have enough ability to protect Lois, then I won't have to look at others' expressions. Lois won't be bullied by others either. This throne belonged to me originally. I must take it back. I will kill every single one of those people who cursed my ascension to the throne. The seed of revenge slowly sprouted in Cain's heart. At this time, I told Elixir that to marry, you must have my father's consent. So I have to find my missing father first. Lois's father is also strange. Where exactly did he disappear to? He raised both Lois and Loin into very capable people, which shows he is also very formidable. And Lois is his daughter. Why? In the original novel, when Lois died, did her father never appear? I'm truly puzzled. Hearing my words, Elixir had a compromise. In that case, it's not too bad. At least I still have a chance. I didn't want to chat with him further, so I found an excuse to return to the castle. Suddenly, Elixir leaned in close and said, I heard the younger brother of the former Duke Vianu has an illegitimate son. Sure enough, he suspected the identity I forged for Cain. But suspicion is normal. I could only brush him off, saying I'd introduce them later. On the way back, he still relentlessly probed me. For an illegitimate son to pop up in the North at this precise moment, don't you find it magical? It's quite normal in the North, right? So, Your Majesty, when do you plan to return? I directly changed the subject. Elixir smiled and said, I plan to stay a bit longer if you accepted me. But now that you haven't, all right, I will help prepare for your departure. I ruthlessly interrupted him. Elixir smiled broadly. Grand Duke, you really are different from other nobles. I couldn't be bothered to continue the topic with him. I replied, Your Majesty, you must be very busy in the capital, so it is better to return as soon as possible. Now, let us return to the castle to rest. After speaking, I continued moving forward. After returning to the castle, John suddenly came over and told me that Loin was very angry because a nameless nobody spoke ill of me. That person's words were apparently quite nasty. John is a man of few words. For John to come and report, this means Loin is indeed extremely angry right now. And that person definitely harbored some malice towards Loin to say those things. I went directly to the Emperor, using the concession I just made to his proposal as a reason. I asked him to give me this ungrateful man. Elixir didn't understand, feeling I shouldn't need him. I told Elixir, since he is capable of saying those bad things, he must bear the responsibility and consequences. Isn't that right? Fine, I grant it to you. Then I turned and said to Loin, Brother, do whatever you want with this person. Hearing these words, Loin smiled coldly. Then he walked toward the man with ill intentions. This ungrateful thing dared to offend my brother. Then his end is death. Just now, a viscount brought by the Emperor talked about me behind my back and was heard by my brother. My brother spoke up for me, but was mocked by that man. Knowing this, I immediately asked the emperor for this man and handed him over to my brother to dispose of at will. The emperor brought his confidants to the north. As the host, I naturally have to host a banquet for everyone. I let my brother deal with this person for two reasons. First, to establish the imposing manner of my north, letting them know that bullying the north leads to no good end. Second, to let my brother vent this anger. I was right. When my brother returned, he carried a heavy scent of blood. Those ministers also sensed this aura and trembled in fear, not daring to say much. This is the effect I wanted. At this moment, Elixir also spoke up. Since Loin has returned, may I meet your cousin now? What was bound to come has come. Cain came out with a calm expression. I didn't expect Cain to be so composed and calm, as expected of the crown prince. When I prepared to formally introduce Cain to Elixir, Elixir waved his hand, indicating he was just an illegitimate son with no bloodline, so there was no need for an introduction. This was clearly insulting Cain, and he specifically mentioned bloodline. Cain is most sensitive about this. I hope he keeps his cool and doesn't fall into Elixir's trap. Then Elixir continued to add fuel to the fire. I am very curious. If Duke Vianu were here, would he accept this illegitimate son of unknown origin? I kept my cool and said, that's not important, is it? After all, I'm the head of the family now, aren't I? I thought this matter should have passed with that. But what Elixir said next put me in a dilemma. But currently, there is no proof that he possesses the Vianu family bloodline. Is there? Why would he suddenly say this? I pretended to be calm and replied, isn't black hair and red eyes the best evidence? Then Elixir played his trump card directly. If that's the case, then we must check it properly. Then a person walked up and took out a medicine bottle. Elixir continued, this bottle is an antidote. As for what it cures, I presume the Grand Duke knows best. There is a secret recipe in the north that can change hair and eye color. This bottle is the antidote. We're screwed. Does such a medicine exist? On the surface, I was calm as the clouds and light as the breeze. But in reality, my heart was about to jump out. Elixir continued to supplement. Grand Duke, have him drink this and try. That way we can distinguish true from false. Oh, verifying this is also a good thing for the North. It's over. What do I do? This emperor, a man with 800 schemes, is really hard to deal with. If I refuse, he will definitely be suspicious. If I don't refuse, and it's really the antidote, won't we be exposed? But what if he is just testing me? But the North is in his hands. After all, he is the emperor. I'm so angry. This damn Elixir. While I was still thinking about what to do, Cain seemed to be telepathically connected to me. Our thoughts were practically identical. Cain's brain was also working fast at this moment. If Lois refuses, Elixir will definitely be suspicious. But if he already suspects me, that bottle should contain poison. And that person holding the medicine, why have I never seen him before? Could he be that Marquis Oten who is good at mixing medicines? He doesn't look like that. Did he change his face? But that's not important. What's most important is the present. Delaying any longer will only make things difficult for Lois. This Elixir has calculated really well. This is nothing more than a gamble. An Elixir won't have any losses. If it's an antidote, I will be discovered. If it's poison, I will die. My current identity is just an illegitimate son. He is the emperor. He can always find a suitable reason for my death. Regardless, I can't think so much now. And now is not the time to be humiliated by these empty titles. I cannot let Lois be troubled. Then I smiled and said to Elixir, Your Majesty, please don't make things difficult for the Grand Duke. As long as the Grand Duke can gain your trust, I am willing to drink this bottle of medicine. Hearing this, Elixir revealed a subtle smile. To others, this expression might be nothing. But Cain knew this was the look of someone wanting to test the opponent. Elixir smiled and said, Very good. I hope you can prove your loyalty to the Grand Duke. Drink it now. Cain took the medicine bottle, feeling its cold temperature. At this moment, he obviously couldn't care about himself. He only thought about how to help Lois resolve this matter. Without hesitation, he prepared to drink that bottle of red liquid, unaware if it was an antidote or poison.